Episode 14 of Gnosia. What an episode. I literally finished this episode and I sat here for like 30 minutes trying to figure out how Yuri got to this conclusion. I'm like, what is it about Rasha? What did they do? Like, everything that played out made sense to me. What Rasha was saying the entire episode made sense to me. Yes, there's a big question mark, the fact that he's part of a role that is already taken, and thus you can sort of suspect them in some way, but how'd you get to that? We were talking about Comet over here, and you're talking about how Comet, you confirmed that Comet was a Gnosia. Like, everything makes sense. And Ratio's doing what Ratio always does. Yes, they're pompous and all that kind of stuff, but they're genius. And they're only pointing out things that Ratio would point out. What is different this time? Why are you seeing that they're a Gnosia this time? And I started to think, well, possibly that Yuri is suspecting that Ratio is the AC follower. Maybe that's potentially why he is now saying that he's a Gnosia. But in actuality, Yuri has figured out something to implicate Ratio as an AC follower. And if they're an AC follower, the only way to combat them, or the easiest way to combat them, is to make people believe that they are Gnosia, which is dangerous at the same time because then you're not freezing a Gnosia at the same time. But still, that's where my brain was going. And I was trying to figure out what is this like train of thought here. And I'm pouring through my notes and I'm going through the episode multiple times. And then ultimately I stopped and I laughed at myself. And I'm going to laugh at myself next week if I'm wrong here, but for now, I'm laughing at myself for, like, overthinking this. Yuriko is the AC follower. I don't know why it didn't click until I finally went back and I looked at the very beginning of the episode, and I was really kind of thinking about, how we transitioned from episode 13 to this. She's the AC follower. Now, here's the oddity, because the episode itself opened up with, yes, Yuriko waking up Yuri. And that part already threw me off. I actually literally went back to the previous episode. I'm like, did I miss a scene? Like, she said she was going to explain everything, and then suddenly he's waking up after a loop? Wait, did he die? Did she trigger the loop? Question mark? There's the bigger question. Can Yuriko trigger the loops? Is she able to do that? Or is she able to progress time or something like that? How do we go from I'll explain everything to bam, he looped? Because they weren't through the entire loop that time. So how would they jump to here? Unless she said, I'll explain everything, but wait until the next loop or something like that. But it seems to imply that she woke him up knowing that he just looped and is now going to explain everything. But first, she said this, and this is what is the telling thing that ultimately maybe decide that she is the AC follower. She said in response to knowing everything, she says knowing things is like the simple part. It's really the aspect of understanding it, accepting it, and withstanding it. You have to survive this loop. If you manage to do that, I'll tell you everything. And then she proceeds to freeze herself, which is the question mark. And again, that implies that she's going to just loop with everything and be able to explain it to him. That she's retaining memories, which also does imply that she's able to essentially transcend the different parallel worlds. That's the other question mark there too, because she's retaining memories coming over here with him. And it's implying that when he loops next time, she'll travel with him again. Things are getting really complicated right now, but stick with me. But anyways, after she gets them to agree to freeze her, when they're going to be frozen, she brings up the AC follower. She said this is going to be the most difficult one, not just because there are 15 people and there's a lot of Gnosia and everything like that. It's going to be the most difficult because there is the presence of one individual, an anti-cosmic follower, or AC follower. She says this is a human, not a Gnosia, that will lie. They want to create chaos. My assumption here is that there are probably going to be some group that, like, I guess may possibly sympathize with the Gnosia. They like the Gnosia. They maybe worship the Gnosia or something like that. And they want to work alongside the Gnosia to kill people. Now, it does imply that Yuriko claims that the Gnosia will kill them. So it's not like it's mutual here. Or at least possibly the Gnosia don't know that they, help them. But either way, they'll be consumed by Gnosia. But I'm guessing there's just some sort of fanatic group that loves Gnosia or just doesn't like humans or something like that. They hate themselves. Big shocker. There's the existence of humans that don't like other humans. That's something that we always are familiar with. But anyways, they want to create chaos. And there's one on the ship, and it's going to throw their meetings off. They're going to lie and everything like that in order to create that chaos. They're lunatics. And then she goes to get herself frozen. One question. How does Yuriko know there's a presence of somebody with some group of the anti-cosmic followers? How does this tie into what Yuriko said before they went into the meeting? The idea of it's not just about knowing the truth. You have to be able to withstand the truth. You have to have the fortitude of that truth and be able to accept that truth. So before she can explain everything, she wants Yuri to experience what an anti-cosmic follower will do. I think that's what this entire loop is about. Yuriko wants him to learn what it's like to have an anti-cosmic follower. Now remember, going back, Yuriko apparently is somebody that has not a part of this Hoshibuna, whatever it was called. I forget the name of this stupid ship. She's somebody that fled from that group, which makes me wonder if she possibly has joined this anti-cosmic follower group, and this anti-cosmic follower group is potentially against that religion now. And again, now right here, she's giving Yuri a test, and it's essentially by applying this lunatic thought process of creating chaos. And how does she create that chaos? This person that has experienced so many loops within this place understands all these individuals and has gotten pretty damn good at finding the different Gnosia. Let me tell that person, that Yuri, that there is potentially a mole, a human that wants to create chaos. And thus, this entire loop, he's going to sit here and try to figure out which one of these humans is working against him. And it's going to drive him crazy. He's going to make him overthink everything, and he's going to turn on the other humans. He's going to become an enemy of the humans instead. Yuriko is the AC follower. She planted that in his head and then went right into the freezer. Absolute cinema. And again, if I'm wrong about this, I'm going to feel real stupid next week. But that's the only way I can explain this. Like, with that in mind, with the idea that Yuriko is the AC follower, with that in mind, I don't even want to talk about this episode. Like, everything that happened in this episode is completely meaningless because it's all literally Yuri himself being stuck in his own head and overthinking everything. Because again, I can't explain it. If I go through this entire episode, we'll go through scene by scene, the opening segment where he meets with Yuriko. Yuriko says, you're going to be tested here. You got to be able to have the fortitude for this information. If you pass this, I'll let you go. They go into the meeting. You have Yuriko basically sacrifice herself. Which, honestly, for me personally, I would probably do that because it turns out that Atome dies right afterwards because the Gnosia know who to go after. Which makes me wonder. I wonder why Kukushka didn't protect Atome. I mean, it's presumed that Kukushka was, in fact, the guardian angel, seemingly protect Yuri. They kind of implied at some point Yuri was a target, and thus nobody died. And then he looked over to Kukushka, and she's like, yeah. Like, yeah, I got you. I got your back. That was... Anyways, put it aside. Putting that aside, again, we have the scene with Yuriko telling him that there's an anti-cosmic follower. We go right into the whole situation with Comet believing that Shigemichi was lying, trying to get Yuri to believe them. That, again, was sort of the oddity there because that's what seemingly what Yuri attaches to. For some reason, he believes the reason why Comet was trying to tell, Chippie and Yuri about Shigemichi, he seems to come to the conclusion that that's Rashio. That's, again, I think it's just all paranoia in his own head. We have the scene where Yuri's trying to decide who he's going to engineer, and he eventually decides Kukushka because of what Setsu said. Kind of find out, yep, she's safe. Now, side note here, I did like this scene right here with Kukushka and Yuri. And the fact that she does eventually confront Yuri and goes, she's a guardian angel, the little wing thing, it was kind of cute. Oddity, though, here is, yeah, he's like, oh, you're the guardian angel and you'll protect me because I, claim that you were human. And she's like, yeah. And then he's like, Kukushka, just who are you? And then she just embraces him. And he apparently out of that gets that she's saying, I'll find out eventually. And then he just leaves it at that. Like this is like a perfect opportunity to ask her some questions. Have her write down some notes. I mean, you've been trying to get information about her for Setsu. Why are you like, you'll find out eventually? My only assumption here is that she's on board or at least has the same sort of thing going on with her as Yuriko and knows that if he passes this, Yuriko is going to explain everything and it's going to explain what happened to Kukushka. That everything's going to tie together, just like Yuriko was saying. All this stuff, the thing with Kukushka, her having, a mon inside of her, this whole situation with the ship, the Gnosia, this is all tied together. Again, I'm thinking it's Levi, but that's the only I can think of is that she's basically saying, you're going to find out as soon as Yuriko tells you. But how would she know that? There's also the side of me that's kind of curious about how calm she is, despite the fact they're implying that she is a Mammon. I think that might be an aspect that SQ is still in there, Like there is an SQ element within her as well, or at least another self that's inside of her. Maybe, oh yeah, could be. That was a little interesting scene. But anyways, continuing on from there, we finally had somebody else bring up the same question mark I had. Sean Ming's like, yeah, Gina just died. Why don't we just all freeze ourselves? Like, everybody just freeze themselves. And Setsu's over here like, that's a last resort. I still think that's the best option. If they did that day one, the ship would be clear of the Gnosia. Now, they don't really specify what happens after that. Will they then land and then they can come in there and test everybody as they're frozen and just kill off the Gnosia? But I'm like, if you all freeze yourself on day one, that prevents anybody from dying during the warps. Like, it's almost an impossibility not to have at least one death just because of the warp. You can't figure out who's all Gnosia, if there's more than one especially, and prevent any deaths. Somebody's going to die during a warp unless you perfectly, plan out your guardian angels and everything. But again, I think it's all just a plot by Levy, so it doesn't really matter. But it was funny because they used the doctor to find out that Shigemichi is in fact human, both Rashio and Remnen, which implies that one of them is fake, one of them is real, and they figured this out. And this, if they're both saying the same thing, it's got to be true. They all decide to offer a prayer of apology. It was like a little dorky scene where everybody's just sitting there doing their little prayers. It was dorky. But yeah, because of that, and because Yuri tested Comet, they decided to freeze Comet. And again, right here, this is still all lining up that Rashio has done nothing out of line. Because, yes, Remnen could be the actual doctor and Rashio's lying, but they're both seeing the same thing, and the engineering came back that Comet was Gnosia. So that was still a lie that was there. But yeah, after that meeting, he goes back to his room, starts to really try to figure this out. Why would Comet target Shigemichi? It just puts him under suspicion. And again, he's looking at it and he's going, it doesn't make any sense. Unless, and then he just points to Rashio. Again, I don't see it. Unless Yuri lied about Comet and claimed that she was Gnosia to go along with Jonas, knowing that Jonas was a Gnosia. Because again, Jonas has claimed that he's an engineer, and Yuri's already, we know, an engineer. So the assumption is that Jonas is a Gnosia. Or an AC, but a Gnosia. Jonas was the first one to claim that Comet was Gnosia. So unless Yuri went along with that just to prevent some suspicion upon himself, Rashio agreeing with Remnen, and then next episode, Yuri comes out and says, I lied, Comet wasn't actually Gnosia, it doesn't make any sense. Again, unless I'm missing something, and I can totally be missing something, and people in the comment section have fun yelling at me. it just doesn't click. Unless, again, my suspicion is true. All this is just Yuri thinking about things way too much. And in the end, Yuriko played him good. And he's going to find out that he failed all this stuff. There was never an AC follower. He screwed up. And then she's going to go, now you understand? Next loop is going to be, you understand now? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. Man, I'm like very anxious to even post this video because I'm sure somebody's like, dude, how'd you miss this? How did you miss this? I think even if I'm missing something with Rashio, in the end, I think it could still be Yuriko being AC follower. That's the interesting thing about it. But anyways, that's my take on the episode. Looking forward to next week. Be kind in the comments if I did miss something. Don't be too mean to me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, you want to support channel more, become a member. Until next time, y'all take care.